All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Lifting, Running, and Living with your favorite coaches, Kelly.
Hello.
Hey, and JK, that is me. All right, we're kicking off episode number 33. So, per the usual, let's start with updates on what we've got going on. So, Kelly, you've had would you call it eventful past
No,
week
it
and a
was the
half or
most
so?
boring week of my life. That's an exaggeration. The last
Well,
time I
tell the
had
people what's
COVID.
up. Yeah. Wah, wah.
uh, I know. I feel like I spoke it into existence last episode when I was talking about those 2 days. I felt really tired.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, last Sunday, tested positive after. Okay, so the 2 days prior, I felt like I had a sinus infection. So that was Friday, Saturday, which is not uncommon for me. And then Sunday, I was supposed to go to Ty's baseball game because it was semifinals, which I think we talked about last time.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the early game, and I woke up and I was just like, I can't. I feel not good. And I was hoping it was still like, it was congestion and sore throat. So I was like, okay, this still could be a sinus infection. And then like midday, the fever came, and I was like, this is probably COVID. And I took a test, and it was like, as soon as the the little formulation dripped up, the line came up, and I was like, God damn it. It was so strong. And I was like, great.
It wasn't even subtle. It's just like bam.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. Which was interesting because this is my second time having COVID. I had it last year. And
Yeah.
I remember we recorded right after that too. I don't know if it was this
Did we?
podcast or
Okay.
mine. Yeah, because I remember telling you about the night I couldn't sleep because I couldn't swallow.
Oh,
And I was like
okay.
up till 5 a.m. But last time I had a fever for like 2 days, and I tested the first day and I was negative. So I was like, okay, this probably is the flu, I guess. And then I still had a sore throat 2 days later. So I went to urgent care because I was like, is this strep throat now? Like, I've never had a sore throat last this long except for strep. And they're like, nope, you have COVID. And I was like, what? I literally tested negative 2 days ago. So this time around, the first day, it was, I guess technically it wasn't the first day because I thought I had a sinus infection. But yep, last Sunday had the vid. It was very annoying.
And clearly now feeling much better.
Yeah.
Seems okay.
It
Good.
was less bad than last year, but it's COVID is so annoying. I know I was texting you about this. It's just like it lasts so long. So like work wise, I wasn't out as long as last year. I remember last year I had to move like any call I had to the next week because I just felt so bad all week.
Yeah.
Yeah. But last year it started on a Monday, so there was a little shift. But this year, I only had one really call. Last week I had with an athlete because she was racing over the weekend. I had that Tuesday and it was fine, except for like I had a couple coughing fits because I wasn't used to talking.
Yikes.
Yeah, but the return to running has been frustrating. It's been
Okay.
better than last year. Last year I didn't run until day 5 or 6, like once my symptoms were mostly gone. And then I did like run walk for like 3 or 4 days and then some short runs and then got back to normal. This time I didn't do run walk. So I was just like, no,
Yeah.
we're just
You're
going
just
to
like, forget
try.
it.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just going to try. Because last year, well, I guess this year too, like I'm always afraid of long COVID because you hear the stories in endurance athletes and it's like, I really don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
So, but we still don't know what causes that. So last year I was being more cautious because I was like, I don't want to get back to it too soon and that be the thing that makes this stick around. But this year I felt better quicker. So
That's
I
good.
did like, yeah, I think it was like day 4 or 5. I did like a mile and I was like, okay, this doesn't feel great, but I did it. I don't feel
Okay.
worse after. Um, yeah, and then today I did a little speed workout test, which didn't feel, I felt like uncoordinated, which was interesting. It just felt weird to run fast.
Okay.
Um, yeah. But for the
What
most
about
part, we're getting
lifting?
better.
Any lifting?
I did one lifting, I think last Friday, and that felt
Okay.
pretty fine. Yeah. Lifting is like, I'm less concerned about it because I'm not breathing hard.
Right.
Except
Yeah.
for, doing 14 Bulgarians per side.
You're still scarred from that.
I am. It was
Yeah.
awful. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the thing that's most annoying is that even though like I'm fine now, symptom wise, and like I'm testing negative, which is an improvement on last year, is that my metrics still aren't normal, which
Okay.
is normal. So like resting heart rate in particular, I take it every morning on like this app that I have, and it's still elevated, and it's like technically it's in my normal range, but it's on the upper end versus before COVID, like mid to upper 40s was my norm, and now it's like low 50s, which is depending on where it lands, it's like could be up to an 8-beat difference, which is kind of big for resting heart rate.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Huh.
And like it's just annoying because I feel like I worked really hard to get my resting heart rate down after like we've talked about this a lot. I've been stacking like 40-mile weeks pretty consistently, and now just like
Yeah.
to get freaking COVID and now just be like, okay, well, I mean, I know it's going to go back. It'll just take a while, but same with like the VO2 max on my watch, even though for anyone listening, we don't put stock in that, but you can tell just by like your own trends, like, okay, well,
Yeah.
COVID is still affecting me, even though it's not affecting my daily life.
Yeah, I will throw in a reminder to anybody that was just processing those numbers that Kelly gave, that those are Kelly's numbers for
Yes.
her range for resting heart rate. Resting heart rate? Resting heart rate. So I was about to say take that with a grain of salt, and that's definitely not what I meant to say.
Don't
Uh,
apply it to yourself.
right, correct. Yeah. Do not apply a judgment. Ooh. Um, teaser for what we're going to be talking about. One of the things that we might talk about later. Yeah, don't apply that as a judgment to where your resting heart rate is. What's most important is getting an idea of your trend, like the
Mm-hmm.
range that you typically are in. And to your point, those things, your resting heart rate, your VO2 max, as you continue to recover, ideally should return back to the range.
Yeah.
It's I'm in a bucket of the industry where that conversation tends to be very parallel to, well, the scale has been up for X amount of
Mm.
time and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
while it's different, where it is somewhat similar is with a return and re-engagement to the foundational things that typically have had you within a certain range for resting heart rate. That's typically where things can return to baseline as far as those folks who might be more focused, more like body composition wise. So just throwing
Mm-hmm.
that out there too. In many cases, the answer is typically not some sort of massive overcorrection
Yeah.
to try to, can you imagine like trying to force your resting heart rate back down? I think that would actually do the opposite.
Probably. I don't even know
Unless
how you would do that.
take a tranquilizer, maybe
Yeah, maybe.
like a,
Or
like
like
a,
intentionally change my breathing. Because like
mm,
if anyone's curious, the app that I use is called HRV number 4 training. And it's
okay.
just like you use your phone, camera, and flashlight every morning to take it. Because as we've discussed in previous episodes, I don't wear my Garmin at night, so I don't get HRV reading. And then resting heart rate obviously is only for the time that I'm wearing my Garmin. So I like this app because then after, I think we've talked about it before, but after a while, you'll get your ranges for HRV and resting heart rate. And then depending on what your reading is that day, it'll tell you like what it recommends for training, like proceed as planned or take it easy today,
Yeah.
remove intensity, don't work out, whatever. Um,
I know
and this
there's a
was
few
my
of them that
first
are out there.
indication.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know there's a few of them that are out there. I don't know that I've heard of that one specifically. I
it's
don't,
nice.
I mean, I track in my tracker for my coach, I keep track of my resting heart rate, not HRV. Yeah, just the resting heart rate. But I just pull whatever the Garmin reports as far as what my
Yeah.
like resting heart rate is, and then I do at least look at the HRV. Or no, we
Hmm.
do track HRV. I apologize. Let me rewind that. It's the sleep score
Oh yeah,
that
the
I
sleep
don't
score
track.
is
I track the
can
amount
be
of
hit or
sleep, but
miss.
not the sleep score. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me backtrack on that. I forgot about that. So, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, what else is going on in your world?
Well, along with that, interestingly, my HRV has been up, which could just
Up
be a
as
product
in
of
higher
less
number?
activity. Higher number, yeah.
Okay. Which, for
Yeah.
those who are not familiar with HRV, you want to do a quick
Mm,
summary?
I don't
No,
really understand
okay.
HRV, to be
Okay,
honest.
well, the higher,
Heart rate
so
variability.
yeah, so super quick, like Micro Machines, Jimmy John's Fast summary is the HRV number. Because I think for some people it can be kind of odd. Like when you say your HRV is up, and we just finished talking about how your
Mm.
resting
It's
heart
like,
rate is
yeah.
up, your resting heart rate you typically would like to be low
Yeah.
because that's beats per minute. Your HRV, your heart rate variability, you would typically like to be higher. So when somebody says that their HRV is up, that typically is generally a good sign because it means that there's more time in between heartbeats.
Hmm.
Probably the most basic way that I could explain it because I'm a basic dude. So there you go. So when we talk about your HRV being up, that is a good thing. When we talk about your resting heart rate being down, generally, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. I
Yeah.
just remember back before, like sometimes just assuming that somebody was like, okay, well, if this is up but that's down, why is that good and why is that bad? So that's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fine.
And for the listeners, I don't really put much stock in HRV. It's just like, oh, cool. This app
There you
does use, I think, HRV more so than resting heart rate.
go. Okay.
Well, along with your subjective feedback to tell you what it recommends for the day. Um, but yeah, I found that interesting. But I'm guessing it's just because I'm not doing as much activity, so I'm like more rested.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we'll see how that changes this week now that I get back to at least more higher volumes of running.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, I've started using this app called ClearSpace. My friend randomly mentioned it because it's an app that can like limit your time on other apps. And the reason she mentioned it, which is kind of funny, you're probably not going to like what I'm about to say, but uh,
I'm looking it up right now too.
yeah, it's a cool app. But so I'm in charge of like all our bills and everything, especially our mobile bill. And each month I get a nice little email telling me that Ty has used up all of the data. So she was like, you need to put ClearSpace on his phone so it limits his Instagram time because I think it's when he uploads stories and reels at work when he's not on Wi-Fi, he uses up all of the data. And we're on unlimited, so like doesn't matter. But once you hit
Okay.
20 gigs, it slows down for that person.
So you're talking data. He has the highest percentage of data usage. You're talking.
He hits the point at which they slow down your
Yeah, the throttle. Yeah.
the throttle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have the pleasure of getting this alert every month, and then I have to text him and be like, "You need to chill on whatever you're doing out of the house."
Does he notice the throttle?
I'm not sure. Usually, it's like a handful of days that he'll be affected by it, so probably not.
I will. So because I have a pretty good amount of experience in that field, I will
Hmm.
tell you that just based on the feedback that I've gotten, and for those who are not aware, I am a full time coach and also a full time retail sales manager. So in the retail field that I'm in, I deal with primarily things like phones, networking, smart home, all that stuff. I deal with leading teams there, not being the expert on said things, by the way. Because sometimes people automatically think that because you are a manager in a particular field, that you also are like the
Mm.
that person who really knows all the ins and outs of the
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I'm like, no. My perceived strength is in leading and managing teams and developing people and then dealing with customers. That is my like handling complex and escalated situations. Like that's what I
Yeah.
do versus like I'm the best person to help you figure out like how to fix your computer when you get a virus. I am not the right person for that. But anyways, what I was going to say though is for years within the cell phone industry, the whole like, well, you know, your data gets throttled thing was like this massive thing for like a few years. And then most of the companies took away unlimited data for about a year or two. And then all of them all of a
Oh.
sudden went back. Yeah, it was
Huh.
like maybe one or two companies had one unlimited data plan and then everything else was like, you know, you get 40 gigs shared or 20 gigs shared, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And then it didn't last long. It was like a year or two. Then all of a sudden, your major players like T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, they all have now pretty much nothing but unlimited, and you choose
Mm-hmm.
between like 4 different types of unlimited. But the difference is where the company has the right to quote unquote throttle your speed, which is just what
Mm.
you're talking about, like slow it
Yeah.
down, right? The long road I just took to get to the point to get to is it's rare that again, just in my interactions, and this is like hundreds, probably could be in the thousands over the years. Rarely are people have I interacted with people who've reported actually noticing the
Mm.
slowdown, which is kind of the interesting thing because I when you talk about like, hey, you got to chill, like that sort of a thing, sometimes people don't even notice it. And I think sometimes it's also mental. Like they
Yeah.
may get that notice, and then all of a sudden, if a video froze once, they're like, oh, they're throttling my speed. There we go again. It's like, or it just might not be, it might be glitching at the moment. Like that does happen.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm Team Ty all the way. That's all. That's,
Yeah.
just trying to help him out. But yeah,
Um.
anyway, so ClearSpace. I just
Yeah. So
derailed.
ClearSpace. So I decided to check out ClearSpace. I
Yeah.
don't remember why. Probably because I'm on social media too much.
Well, you said
But
your friend recommended it, right?
yeah, but I don't know why I then looked it up for myself. You know,
Oh,
like
because well, may I offer an opinion?
sure, go ahead.
I believe that you did it because you, from the time that I've known you, typically you'll dig into stuff and like check it out and actually
Yeah,
get
that's
some
fair.
details around it. Like you're not, yeah. Like I, yeah. That's
You're right. It's not a mystery.
yeah. Like you like to dig into stuff and kind of get the details, and you're a data nerd. Like you like stuff like that. That's
Yeah,
your thing. Yeah.
I was curious, I think, about what it was.
I'm surprised you didn't make a chart to like explain
Not
it.
this
You're
time.
like, actually, I have a spreadsheet. Yeah.
I don't have a spreadsheet for this,
Anyways,
but
all right.
yeah, anyway. But basically what it does, I mean, we all know that, I don't know about Androids. I assume they have the same thing, but iPhones, you can set like app limits for like
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, TikTok, Threads, whatever. Those are my main three. But you can easily bypass that. When your limit's up, you basically just say, ignore this all day, and then it goes away. But ClearSpace, well, I have the free version, so I can only use it on one app. So I'm only using it on Instagram currently, which is
Okay.
probably like my biggest offender of like mindless scrolling because I don't really care what's going on Instagram, but it's like a habit to just open it when I'm bored, which I know you've
Right.
talked about.
Yes.
So what it does is you set like the limit on how many times you can open it per day. So I have it set at 6 right now, which was a complete guess. uh,
Okay.
but 6 works out pretty well. And then when you want to use the app, it makes you do like, you have to take one deep breath. So you have to wait. It tells you a quote. And then you have to say, do you still want to use it? Yes or no. And then you can choose how long you use it. And your options are 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And then the thing I like about ClearSpace is once that time is up, you have to use another open if you want to keep going. So then it's like, okay, I have 6 opens today 5-10 minutes, whatever it is up. Do I really want to waste another one right now when it's still 9 a.m.? So it's just like making me more intentional about when I get on Instagram. Though I will say I am getting on Instagram on desktop more to sidestep that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
little
But
workaround.
a
Yeah.
little workaround, but there's limited functionality obviously on the desktop. Uh,
Hmm.
but it is nice if I'm just like, okay, I just want to check. Because the one thing I don't love is, how when you use up your time, it like grays out the app so you can't see like if you
I,
have any
I I don't
notifications or
know that
anything. Oh, well, if you have
because I
like,
don't have ClearSpace.
well, no, like your normal app limits.
Oh, I don't have those set.
Oh, well, if you do, basically
Yeah.
once you've used
I'm
up
just
your
out here being
time,
wild in the streets.
you
I don't
are.
have that. Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll like gray out the icon and then you can't see if you have any notifications. So I'll usually like today is Tuesday when I do Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'll like go on desktop, see like, do I have any?
I don't even
Is it
have
worth opening my app to see
notifications set
this?
up though.
I mean,
That's the thing too.
I only have like the little red bubble for
Yeah.
messages. But other than that, I don't need to know.
Yeah, I don't even have
Anyway,
that. But I like the initially like the information about it. I really dig that. It's
yeah.
possibly something I may check into. I like that it's got a science backed or a research backed, excuse me, um, action step in there with
Hmm.
stopping for a minute. I'm looking at the website. Complete a centering exercise. You
Yeah.
like breathe in, breathe out. I like that it has that actual step in place
It's nice.
versus just as a heads up, your screen time is up sort of thing. And then you just override it and move on. Like it stops you for a second to like stop, take a pause,
Hmm.
And I think I did talk about this before. Something that I try to do consistently is remind myself, like as I'm about to open up, and it's at this point, it's anything that I open up. So this now goes for like my messages, my email, everything. It's like, okay, what am I looking for? Like,
Yeah.
what am I going into?
Hmm.
So I like that this has some technology to back that up. That's pretty cool. I
Hmm.
So something that I will throw out there though is so how you talked about you will use Instagram on the desktop.
Yeah.
So I did. There was a period of time where that's basically based on like a bunch of projects and stuff that I really needed to use the majority of any sort of available time that I had that wasn't dedicated to like working outside of the house or anything going on with the kids or my wife or whatnot. Like I needed to dedicate that time because I had like some work that was really piling up. So I was like, the only time I'm really going to use Instagram is on the computer for the
Hmm.
most part, for the most part. And what I found though is that works fine for consumption.
Yeah.
However, for creation
Yeah. You
and
can't do
producing,
much.
you can't really do much. So, um, something that was helpful for me somewhat within that realm was when I'm on it on like when I'm on my phone on
Hmm.
Instagram, for example, or sometimes Facebook. I don't use TikTok. It's specifically when I'm on my phone, and I this is not the issue, not the thing right now, but it was always for okay, when I'm on my phone, I'm a producer. When I'm on my computer, I'm a consumer,
Mm.
and just
Yeah.
looking at it that way. Now, I could also be a producer while on my computer because if I was answering a message that somebody sent, like that sort of a thing,
Yeah.
then cool. But even like client wise, I use Telegram for that, which that may be a whole issue now too, because it sounds like the CEO got arrested
Oh
and
no.
I don't know what's
What?
going on. Yeah, I don't know what's totally going on there. But yeah, I just wanted to share a similar but a little bit of a different perspective on switching over to the desktop and all that jazz. So I like that
Yeah.
idea with ClearSpace though.
Yeah.
Might poke
There is
around on
an
that.
option. I don't know how to use it yet. I think you need friends. Um, but there's an option like you can do a challenge with friends, and one of them you would really like. It's you have to take a certain number of steps before you can scroll. Like how many steps you take
Oh,
determines how many minutes you get of scrolling per day. I don't know how to activate it though. I
that
think
is
you need to have like a
interesting.
group. Yeah.
that's that's one of those like properly managed, super cool.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? Because you can definitely see where that
Yeah.
then is like it's almost like the equivalent, or in the wrong hands, it could be the equivalent of eating one Reese's peanut butter cup equals a 20-minute workout.
Yeah.
So you got to work out for 20 minutes to earn your peanut butter cup. Well, you got to walk 1,000 steps to earn 10 minutes on your
Yeah.
phone. I've I have I have had a client who identified that they scrolled and they wasted some time scrolling.
Hmm.
And when we dug into it a little bit more, it came up as a conversation with also part of a bigger issue. Like the problem was not a lot of movement during the
Mm,
day.
yeah.
And one of the things that we discovered as we were talking through possible opportunities to be able to move a bit more periodically throughout the day was like when dinner was cooking, or they were waiting for food to heat up or whatnot because they worked from home. They would this I don't know. This is what happens when you have like actual like you get into the conversations. She identified that she would basically just like lean on the kitchen counter and just be thumbing through her phone all the time.
Yeah.
I was like, well, could we get in the habit of when your thumb moves, your feet move? So just walk. Like you have to be
Yeah.
moving when your thumb is moving. Like, could we do that? Because it was just really funny because she was really funny about it because she was just like, it's like my thumb. Like it just keeps going and going and going and going. So I was like, well, I don't know. Let's try that. Just
Yeah.
move as your thumb moves, as opposed to the whole like, well, put your phone in a drawer or leave it
Hmm.
downstairs or that sort of thing. So, all
Yeah.
right. See, I told you we could take one of your topics and just run with it, right?
I know. We could
All
do
right.
so many things. My
Yeah.
last update, I mean, since I talked about Ty's baseball team, I have to close the loop on this. They had
Yeah.
finals on
Yeah, you do.
Sunday,
Okay.
which coincidentally was the first day I tested negative, which
Awesome.
was perfect. Yeah.
Praise
Um,
be.
praise be. Yeah. I know. I was going to go anyway, but I really didn't want to wear a mask sitting outside in the heat because some of our friends were coming to watch with me. Um, but they ended up losing by 2 in the final inning.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. But it was like kind of surprising they made it that far in the first place.
Oh, really?
Uh yeah, I think anyone on that team would agree with what I just said, hopefully, and wouldn't take offense.
If
But
not, you just pissed off the whole team.
I know. Uh but yeah, it was excited at the end because they were like in the ninth inning, they were the away team, they were down by 5,
Mm.
and there were 2 outs, and we were all like, this is gonna be it. Like they're just gonna lose by 5, and then someone hit the ball. Someone else hit the ball. They got 3 runs before you know it, and then bases were loaded, 2 outs, and I was like, is this gonna be it? Are they gonna come
Wow.
back and then like hold them off on the field? But no. Then the guy got out, and it was kind of anticlimactic, but it was exciting before
Dang.
that.
Like the drama. Like the
Yeah,
drama. Well,
it
congrats on
was.
getting that far. Do does Ty watch the Little League World Series at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm assuming you would probably know if it was on the
I would.
TV. Yeah.
Uh, the sports I know he currently is into is women's basketball.
Like WNBA?
Oh yeah, he big Caitlin Clark fan.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
he follows the
All right.
fever now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right. Anything
All right.
else?
No, what's
No?
up with you?
Ah, well, I'm in fat loss now.
Yeah.
So started that nutrition phase last Tuesday. So today, the 27th, when we're recording, is officially 1 week. So the initial plan is I'm saying 7 weeks, just
Okay.
because we have a trip planned, like a weekend trip down to Alabama
Mm,
that weekend. We'll kind of see where things are at that point. And also, instead of leaving it open with like a, hey, let's do it for this long and kind of see what happens and then figure out whether that's the end or not, something that's more helpful for me is to identify that that is the end of it. And
Mm.
also let's evaluate where things are at the end of that particular cycle. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well. However, when my coach and I talked about it, he absolutely understood what I was saying. So that's really the main person that matters in understanding what I'm talking about. Because it's basically like if you tell me, something is due in October,
Yeah.
that's and that also I do understand that the project may need some additional revisions after I turn in my final copy. That's one thing. However, if you
Mm-hmm.
tell me you'd like to check in on the project in October, then I
Very
approach that
different.
I approach that differently.
Yeah.
I may save that as an analogy because that actually
That is a good
explains it
analogy.
pretty well for me,
Yeah.
for me to comprehend. So yeah, we are with it being a shorter cut, which 7 weeks is what I would consider a shorter cut. We're going pretty aggressive, and pretty aggressive would be average calorie range. I'm trying to think of the math real quick because I'm not sharing like the specific numbers,
Yeah.
but typically I operate within about a 200 calorie swing,
Mm.
like for range when I was in maintenance and primarily in muscle building. So to use an example, I'm going to use a wild example. Um, so it'd be like 7,000 to 7,200 calories. So 7 to
Mm.
7,200 calories would be a 200 calorie range. Basically, try to stay within that. So my calorie range for this fat loss phase, that range is on average about 8 to 900 calories lower
Whoa.
daily. So we're going pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Also, my calories had been built to at least a pretty decent amount. So I'm not in the super low, like I'm not in triple digits. I'm not even in the
Mm.
low like 1000s range. So I still
Yeah.
got enough food for sure. So yeah, this initial week has gone very well to start off, and I expected it to go very well because, like many people that I've worked with and talked to, at the initial phase of many things that are super goal oriented or super targeted, you've got that initial like adrenaline rush. You're excited about it. It's like the honeymoon phase. Like you're
Yeah.
super stoked, like you're really pumped, and all that stuff. So I'm both recognizing and taking credit for a great first week, and also understand I feel like I'm getting like the stare down from Kat. Oh my gosh, um, for real.
For
Like,
anyone watching,
like
Birdie is here.
yeah, like skeptical face where I was like, the first week has gone great, and just this look like, you sure?
To be fair,
Cause
she
I want,
can't hear you because you're
yeah.
in my ears. But
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
Um, yes. So recognizing those wins or that win of the week,
Mm-hmm.
and also understanding that that level of like excitement typically starts to come down. So yeah, to start off, things are going really well. We started a new training cycle. Also, the reps range doesn't change or anything like that. So when folks are seeing posts around like this is the best rep range for fat loss, this is the best rep range for muscle, and that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
That generally is not a philosophy that I co-sign. I co-sign difficulty of the load that you're bearing for the number of reps that gets you somewhere within generally 1 to 3 reps away from failure being more
Mm-hmm.
important than, okay, 15 to 20 keeps you lean and 6 to 8 gets you like jacked, like that sort of a thing. I don't really co-sign that. So that's my update as far as fat loss goes. Just
Another
kicking
birthday
things
without
off.
crumble.
That's yeah. My birthday is this upcoming weekend, so that's on the 30th. It'll be the day this releases, right?
Yeah, the day
That's
this comes
Friday.
out,
Yeah.
it's your birthday episode.
Yeah. So that'll be my birthday. I mean, we
Yep.
have, and for those, also, my son is going to turn 12 that day. So Mace and I
Yeah.
have the same birthday, obviously born in different years. The dad joke, you know. But yeah, we share the same birthday. So there'll be some activities for him, and there'll be a family party and stuff like that. And we're gonna keep it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it pretty low key here. It's not to say that I couldn't fit something like a crumble cookie in, or I've been more
Yeah.
of on an insomnia kick this year than I have
What
crumble.
is that?
Insomnia cookies. It's another a
Hmm.
different brand.
Never heard of them.
Yeah,
Are
different brand.
they
They're good.
nationwide or local
Yeah.
to you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
insomnia.
I would venture to guess you may have them in your area too. Yeah.
I'm
I
googling
think they
right now.
started on the East Coast, like Jersey, Philly, somewhere
The
around
East
there. But they
Coast.
deliver late too. Yeah, you went to
Insomnia
Hofstra. You might.
cookies.
I don't know if they were around back then.
I grew up in Maryland. I
Yeah.
don't remember an insomnia. It
Okay.
looks like there's one in Boulder and Denver.
Yeah. And they
Yep.
usually deliver like super late. This is before like
Oh,
DoorDash and all that stuff. But yeah,
interesting.
they're legit. So that's
Hmm.
actually something that a situation that I faced a few nights ago where it had been um, it had been a longer day at work, and it's end of the night. Some periodic like stressful situations and whatnot. Nothing out of the ordinary, and also got to acknowledge like sometimes stuff is stressful,
Hmm.
and had a craving for like some ice cream, like an Oreo McFlurry, actually.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, because a McFlurry just sounded really, really good at
Especially
that particular
Oreo.
time. Yeah,
It's the
and
best.
I had based on the intake that I'm working within, I had the calories for it.
Oh.
So the difference with how I operate during a fat loss phase versus a maintenance and or muscle gain phase is I stop and I pause a bit longer during a fat loss phase to think through, like, is this, and we're not talking like minutes. This is literally like maybe 30 seconds instead of 5. Because some days
Hmm.
it's just like, yeah, I got enough calories. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Versus in a fat loss phase, calories are at a premium. And so
Hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, like, because I think it's maybe, I don't know, might be like 500 calories or something like that. And it's like, well, is that really worth it compared to what I could grab at home,
Hmm.
which would be something different? And I have like these like Greek yogurt things that I can just put in like chocolate chips or something, and at least like get the sweet
Hmm.
tooth taken care of, like that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So those are certain things that come up in fat loss, um, a bit more, that are a bit more of a priority. Whereas during maintenance and muscle gain phases, I still think through those things, and also I've got typically a bigger bank of calories to work with. So,
Hmm.
so that's what's up there. And then we talked about, yeah, my birthday is coming up, and so Kelly and I were chatting about this before we hit record. So I jotted down in my updates just this reminder about aging comments. So I am going to be 47. I was born in 78. So that's 47, right? No, 46.
Yeah, 46.
Yeah, I'm going to be 46. I don't even remember how old I am, but legit, I have to think about it. That wasn't made up. I usually have to think about it. So I'm going to turn 46. The the amount of perceived times that I hear people making these comments about, like, they bend down to pick something up and they're just like, ugh, that's what stuff gets harder as you get older, or,
Yeah.
something along those lines. We were both commenting because we have an age gap and we both still hear those things from people. And
Yeah. It's like
it's,
once you hit 30, people start saying it. And I'm just like,
yeah, like the whole, once you hit whatever age, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever, they're like, yeah, it's just downhill from there, like that sort of a thing. And this is just my reminder, my opinionated reminder that yes, I understand that certain things are just a fact of science when it comes to age or time on earth, whatever you want to call it. I understand that certain things are scientific. And also, I understand that your lifestyle is likely going to have a bigger impact. And the example that I think of is to take it away from the human body. If I think of something like a vehicle, like I drive right now a 22-year-old vehicle,
Whoa.
and I haven't owned it for 22 years. I bought it when it was already like 20 years
Yeah.
old. And it's clear, not going to jinx myself here, but I saw the records, and someone took the time to maintain that vehicle over 2 decades. Regular oil changes, all the things, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you can apply the same sort of intention. I'm not saying that a car and and a body are exactly the same. I'm saying you could take some of those same principles and apply them to your life and your lifestyle is what I actually mean. And perhaps put a bit more power back into your hands versus, this is just to the person who's making statements like that, versus just being like, well, this is just what happens when you get old. Well, it's just what
Yeah.
happens when you are inactive. That could be more, that could be a big factor for you. So
Yeah.
steps off soapbox. Yeah. So yeah,
Yep.
that's my update.
You got one more. I'm waiting for this rant.
Oh, okay. Did you want, I felt like you had something on this topic too, though.
I just co-signed that it seems to be getting worse and more
Yeah. So what I
prevalent.
jotted, what I jotted down on our rundown that we're both looking at is distracted driving. So over the past, this has specifically been over the past week to 2 weeks. I have noticed every single day, and that's not an exaggeration. Every single day, because I can tell you the exact scenarios every day. Someone swerving and
Oh,
or running
swerve.
through a red light, and they were on their phone.
Oh,
Most of it, there were two there, I'm sorry, one was a red light, one was a stop sign. All of the other ones were
jeez.
noticing the car, swerving a little bit more to the left side of the lane than to the right side of the lane.
Yeah.
uh, and the first one was about a week or a week and a half ago, driving down this really long 4-lane road. Yeah, 2 lanes on each side. So riding down this really, really long road, and noticed this car like drive, car behind me in the rearview mirror. I was in the right hand lane, it was in the left hand lane, and I just noticed it was shifting just a little bit from left to right, that sort of
Mm.
a thing.
Yep.
And then they drive up, they pass me going speed limit. They drive past me, and I see that it's somebody that's on their phone, like thumb is moving, so they're texting while they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And we're approaching. We are probably, let's say, I don't know distance, but we've got plenty of time to like slow down and whatnot
Yeah.
to a red light, or to a, I'm sorry, to a green light. We're driving along. The light turns yellow. I'm just taking awareness of my surroundings because I had slowed down because I was just like,
Yeah.
I've just seen too many times how this movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then lo and behold, when we get to a 4-way intersection where that light is, the light has turned from yellow to red, and that person just zoomed right on, or rode right on through. I'm not going to pretend they were
Mm.
speeding, but just rode like right on through the red light.
Oh
And
my
it wasn't
god.
even, yeah, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And what makes it even tougher is that it's right near a daycare center. Like, it's just one of those like,
Yeah.
it's 2024 and we're still doing this. Like, with all of the voice activated things that we now have access to. And I have been that person before who has driven and tried to do something on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just, it's 2024. Like, it's time to definitely put this to bed. It's not necessary. Like, it's just not necessary at all. Because I've
Yeah.
watched now every day, I'm just really cognizant of it. And every day I've seen somebody on their phone doing something, and it's been brought to my attention because I'm seeing the car swerve. So it's not like I'm
Mm-hmm.
driving down the road like looking to see what everybody's doing. It's just wild though. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that's my rant. That's my rant.
Yeah, I feel like there's I don't know if there's one for your city or like Chicago, which might be the closest big city, but there's a it's actually for our whole state. There's like driving in Colorado TikTok page, and it's just dash cams of all the crazy
Oh,
driving here, because there's a lot of like people stopped at a red light and someone just keeps going even though
right
it
on
like
through.
it didn't just change. Yeah. Stuff like that, or like a lot of people don't know how to merge here, which I don't know if that's a distracted driving thing or like we need better license tests. But yeah, there's a whole page dedicated to Colorado drivers, which is entertaining to watch, but also horrifying when you're on the road and then you see something like it.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm not sure why I'm more aware of it now than I have been. A contributing factor could be I did actually make a change to like what I listen to sometimes in the car. Like I go more
Oh,
instrumental and stuff now.
oh,
Yeah, a reason for that was I was listening to audiobooks or podcasts, but I was finding that my mind was wandering. So I'd be like
mm,
going back to like, oh, well, let me rewind that because I missed that part, like that sort of
yeah,
a thing. Um, so I was like, nah, let me just occasionally now I'll just do more like instrumentals or like house music that doesn't have like words to it, or there's a station on Spotify called Boom Bap Focus, which is more like hip hop beats and stuff like that.
mm,
So
yeah,
I'll do those because I'm typically the drives that I'm doing that on, we're talking 5 to 15 miles, like that sort of a thing. I basically
yeah,
go to the same 5 spots all
yeah.
the time. I don't, I go to the same 5 places pretty
Yeah,
much. And one of
can
them is
relate.
Mason's school. Yeah. Did you ever have you ever seen that report from Google Maps that will give you a recap of like your previous month, and it'll show you like where you visited and all that stuff? If you
No.
turn on location services, I think in the Google Maps app,
Uh-huh.
it will track that in the background. And then
Oh.
there's a report that you can go in and get, and you can get a summary of like the places you visited and all this other stuff. And I remember
Huh.
doing that a couple of years ago, and it basically listed like 6 places, and that was it. Just those 6 places, and I think 3 of them were grocery stores.
Yeah,
Three
that
of them were
sounds right.
grocery stores, a gym, and then Mace's school and Ava's school and work. Yeah, there was hardly anything that was on there. It was kind of funny.
That is
All
funny.
right. All right. Well, those are our updates. It's just gonna
Yeah,
be an update episode.
we are at 50 minutes.
Yeah,
I told you.
well, let's chat about how do you
Threads.
want to do this threads one? Yeah. So a couple of things that we've seen on threads.
By
Do you want to
we
do
mean you, and then you respond, and then I
I
see
know.
it.
I know. I'm a responder. I
My
am a
threads is quite
responder.
boring in terms of like controversiality and stuff
Let's
like
talk,
that.
you know what? Let's talk about the the content one.
Okay.
Like so do you want to bring up the example that you talked about with somebody making a comment about like the long runs or easy
The
runs? I'm
running part.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can bring
Uh,
up the example that I talked about.
yeah. So something I've been thinking about recently, and this is partially because I've been on Reddit a lot more, and I'll just see people's comments.
Okay.
But people tend to get so upset when, like, if you're on Strava or depending on who it is on Instagram or TikTok or something, and someone will like post their run and you see what pace they ran, and then they label it as like an easy run or a recovery run. And then the person viewing it gets so upset because either it makes them feel bad about themselves or they make a bunch of assumptions like this person's lying, they can't possibly run that pace for an easy run, they're just doing it to show off. But more so, I've been thinking about the people who like take it personally and think that someone else running a certain pace for a certain amount of miles means anything about them and their
Yeah.
athletics. And it's just an interesting thing I've been noticing. And obviously, like, people on Reddit are a lot more unfiltered. Since you for the most part can be pretty anonymous, depending on what you post and what you respond to and stuff, and what your username is. So people will like, it brings out the bad worst parts in people, I feel like, in terms of those things. But it's also like the more honest side of people about how they feel about when they see certain things. And I'm talking more like not people who just are judging someone just because they like feel a certain way about them, kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
but more like, oh, you see it a lot on faster runners when they'll post something, and then a lot of the comments are like, oh my god, I couldn't even run that for 400 meters or something like that, or like, I'd be happy to run that for this far and you just ran a marathon. And it's just like, I don't know why. One, I don't know why these comments are necessary, and two, like, why are you letting what someone else is doing affect how you feel about what you're doing? Because like, you're two completely different athletes.
Different people.
Like, you're not
Yeah.
trying to do what they're trying to do, probably. So why does it matter?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. Uh, so what we're basically kind of getting into here is just having some conversation around how people process content from coaches, let's say, like coaches or other athletes or
Mm,
whoever, really,
yeah.
just like how that content is processed. So, Kelly's got her example, and I was talking to her before we hit record about this example that I saw, and it was a post from somebody who identified themselves as a full-time fitness coach. So that's what she
Mm,
called herself, full-time fitness coach. So it was basically like, come with me on a day as a full-time fitness coach, and busy fitness coach and mom of two. So she
mm,
has two boys, and they both looked to be under the age of 7. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're littler, but both walking age. So I just took a look at it again while you were talking and like jotted it down. So what she ran through was 5 a.m. wake up, 6 a.m. get dressed, um, and have some coffee. 7:15 get the kids up and get them dressed and eat. 8:15 school drop off. 8:30 workout. 10 a.m. do some work, have lunch. 11:30 on that particular day, get her hair done, answer some emails. 1:45 do some work and do client calls. 4:30 pick up the kids from school. 6:45 do dinner and all that jazz. 8 p.m. bedtime, try and get the kids to bed and all that stuff. And then she said 9:30 p.m. like she brushes her teeth and go to bed, like that sort of a
mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
And so a comment why I brought it up to Kelly was a very popular comment on that post was somebody who said, I wish there was more realistic representation of mom life, working a full-time job, working out, being a wife. It's a hard job. And this is the part that stood out to me. Videos like this make women feel defeated. So I want to read what the creator wrote in response, because I thought it was very well put. She said, in quotes, realistic is relative because everyone's full-time job can look different. I agree. It is hard to balance it all. I was in the corporate world for 10 years, a wife at one point and a mom of two. She's a single mom now. I completely get not being able to work remotely and have more freedom in that sense. I am now the owner of my own business, and the work goes beyond what this video shows. I am answering calls during my workouts, working on my laptop during my hair appointments, and there are days I am up until midnight and working on most weekends. Every day looks different, and this is just one day. This is where I thought this was very well said. What doesn't look different is my priorities. I wake up at 5 a.m. so I can get things knocked out early to have the time to work out later. My goal with my videos is to never make women feel defeated, but inspired, and show you can do more than you think. And how that last paragraph was stated goes to primarily my perspective with when we as humans take the time to put energy into not just the thought, but then taking the action of leaving a comment that whatever that particular individual is putting out there, they wish that they wouldn't get content like that because it makes them feel defeated. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because you're identifying that you're taking the time to add more to the fire. I'm missing the word that I'm looking for.
Fuel.
But yes, thank you. I'd say wood, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So adding more fuel to this fire. And I get it that social media is social media and that the platform is one where, I mean, the comment section is there for a reason. You can certainly turn off comments if you want to. So the whole idea is to have some engagement and whatnot. And I think that the comment that particular person made is not like that does, it's not something that's shocking to hear. I think that is something that, I mean, that's something that I will hear from people consistently is, I had to stop following this person because it was just making me feel X. And to that, I then ask, so what is it that's making you feel that way? Like, why do you think you're feeling that way? Like, what is it that's allowing you to take the next step of interpreting that as this is just your reminder that you suck? Like
Yeah.
what's leading to that? So just with your example with the runs too, when somebody posts, that their easy run, I mean, I could be the prime example for this, where somebody were like, just an easy 5 miles as a busy full-time working dad of two, who's a business owner and blah, blah, blah. Just
Yeah.
another, just an easy 5. I'm like, you should see me try to run 5 miles. The only easy is going to be if Easy E is playing in my headphones. Like, it's not happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So curious just how have you had clients at all who've perhaps like gotten into that comparison piece of content or anything like that, or not as much?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there has been an instance, it's not sticking out in my memory. It's not common for the people I work with. At least
Okay.
not that like we talk about, I guess. I'm sure it is common in some way because we all like do it in some form if we
Yeah.
are consuming content. But yeah, nothing really sticks out. There probably is more than I know in terms of like Strava comparison because that's really common in runners. But
Okay.
it is very similar with either Instagram, TikTok, consuming that content. And like, I like what you said about some of the people you've talked to recognizing that they need to unfollow people that make them feel bad. Cause I
Yeah.
feel like it's the same thing on Strava. Like, you can now mute people. So mute people or just unfollow them. Like, you don't, if their training is making you feel bad, you don't need to see it.
Yeah. The word inadequate just came to mind for me.
Oh.
Yeah. So the word inadequate came to mind. I know in that post that I talked about, the person who commented used the word defeated, like the post made them
Mm-hmm.
feel defeated. Where the word inadequate comes to mind, and I'm curious if you've faced this, is where inadequate comes to mind when it comes to someone, I would say another content creator, feeling like, well, if my post doesn't look like that, or if my post, it's really the content itself isn't doing the same sort of numbers as this other person's post, does that mean that I'm inadequate? Like I'm not
Mm.
very good at my job. I mean, that could go into a whole that could get into like the imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
But that's just a random thing that like comes to mind, especially when it comes to unfollowing other people. I think that I've shared this on this podcast before. There are a number of other fitness professionals that I have unfollowed because their content was getting into my head when it came to
Mm-hmm.
the ideation phase and thinking of different things to cover.
Yeah.
That for sure was getting into my head. I don't know. I mean, it could potentially have been feelings of inadequacy. It could have been feelings of, I wouldn't say as much like the numbers aspect because I don't look at
Mm-hmm.
my insights very much to
Yeah.
be able to compare. But I guess maybe follower count could possibly look at something like that. I'm not even sure how many I have. So maybe that's not a great example. Maybe that's not a great example. It's perhaps like they're covering a topic that I I thought about covering, and then I
Mm-hmm.
see two or three other people that I follow cover that topic. So then I'm like, well, shoot,
Yeah.
anybody who sees mine is just going to think that I'm just trying to copy theirs and that I'm covering the same stuff.
Yeah. We have talked about that because I don't remember what we were talking about, but I remember talking about how I've unfollowed running coaches and or muted them because I don't want to see what they're posting. So it wouldn't influence when I want to
Yeah.
post, or like there is that element of like you see how much someone posts and you're like, do I need to be doing that? Even though like I don't really. Well, right now it's weird because if you follow me on Instagram, I don't really post on Instagram anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not creating content really, but
Okay.
back when I was trying to be more intentional about posting like consistently, it definitely was like why can they come up with so many ideas and so many different posts and why am I struggling to make like 2 a week kind of thing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So my question would be, and I'll happily provide my point of view on this per the usual,
Yeah.
because I've just recently was talking to a client about this one. Posting, so for your industry, posting like finishing times, race results, and things like that for clients,
Hmm.
for the clients that you have. Issue, not an issue. Do you do it? Do you not do it? What goes into the thought process of why you do or don't post the race results for your clients? Because I do see, I like how you post like who's got whatever races coming up this weekend and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
to me, just as another coach, it's always just kind of cool to see because it's like just like a bodybuilding coach posting like I've got these people competing at this
Yeah.
event. Like I think that's kind of cool, especially because I'm not necessarily like the clientele that I deal with are lifestyle, so they're not event based. So I mean, I could be like, Molly's going to Acapulco this weekend. Shout out Molly. I guess I could do that. That might have just given me a content idea.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
might have just given me a
people love
content
being
idea.
recognized. So,
Yeah. Anyways, so can you talk about that a little bit? Race results. Post them, don't post them. Why not?
yeah, I feel like a hard question. I've always struggled with whether or not to do it because, on the one end, it's really exciting when someone has a really good race result, and obviously that is like an endorsement for your coaching because you
Mm-hmm.
help them in some way. And in that sense, it's like a good thing to post. Where I've struggled, and you probably haven't seen me post race results because I don't really. I post the good luck like you see, and then like if they tag me in a race story or a post after the fact, I'll repost it in my story.
Yeah.
So I kind of like put it on them if they want to share it or not. Um, I'll share more like in our group of when people do
Okay.
well.
Like in your Slack group.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
in our Slack group, like Jesse just PR'd this weekend or something like that. Um, but I've kind of felt weird doing it on Instagram because I feel like I've never wanted that to be the main uh thing that gets someone praise because not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's always PRing, doing a new distance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've thought that like if I'm going to do that, then I also need to find a way to recognize everyone else for something that has nothing to do with time. So it's like, where's that balance? Obviously, I haven't done it. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I kind of do it. I do like the monthly highlights every month. Uh, but similarly, I ask everyone like, do you have a highlight you want to share so I can post it on Instagram? So I like let them choose was meaningful for
Hmm.
them of the past month. And sometimes it is like, oh, I PR'd in my race, or I came in this place. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen the post. If anyone's not aware, sometimes it's like, I stayed consistent this month when I had a lot of travel, or
Yeah.
like as small as we want, like whatever, when they decide to choose to share. Or like I just got out on a really pretty trail run and I haven't been on a trail in a while. So that's how I've kind of balanced them. But there was a certain point in time when Lucy last year got second at Leadville, and my
I remember
business
that.
coach was like, "You need to post about that." And I was like, "I feel weird though. Like the result, yes, I helped her get there, but it's mostly her result, And I think it depends on who you're trying to speak to, because like the people I'm trying to help, yeah, some of them are, on the faster end, but for the most part, it's like people who want to push themselves, and it's like just them competing with themselves versus like trying to podium. So I didn't want to put more weight in her result just because she got second place on a race, which like obviously incredible, amazing accomplishment.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I think it also felt weird. I wasn't doing like the monthly highlights at the time, so I didn't want to be like, I'm giving all this praise to her for getting second place, and then the rest of you, sorry, like there's
Mm.
nothing on my grid for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like trying to find a way to remedy those two, and then yeah, because my business coach was like, it needs to be more clear that you were her coach for this result, and I was like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right for me, you know.
Yeah. I I can relate. I can relate from the aspect of body composition changes
Mm-hmm.
and transformation photos and things like that. Um, and the angle that I come at it with most recently, or the context that I bring into it most recently, was a conversation with a client where I actually did post. I posted a picture of when we started and now, or a couple weeks ago. So I posted that, and it was after having a conversation with her where we were recapping, and there's a 2-year time span between the two photos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call them before and afters or anything like that. And also, just because I don't call them before and afters or put the words before and after on there doesn't mean that that's not processed as somebody else as a before and after photo. So I understand that. To
Yeah.
me, it's more about what was my intention. And then even I could go off on a different tangent there, but that's my intention, as I tried to do with posting that, was to identify a visual to go along with some words that talked about like what else has happened internally. So yeah, I posted
Ooh.
it and I put, this client and I were recently reviewing things and it was cool to reflect on the journey so far. So there's a photo of her from 2022, and then right next to there it just says current. And I, underneath it, I put little check marks, and there's things that we did. So improved health markers, more muscle, body composition changes in alignment with the direction she wants them to go in, using time in the gym more efficiently, improved cardio endurance, and better mindset around taking recharge or rest days. So
Mm.
putting that in there, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me was, during a recent conversation with that very same person, she said, it just feels something along the lines of, it feels really good to be recognized, because for a good amount of time, I felt like I was seeing, not while working with me, but previously, she was like, I felt like the majority of what I'm seeing posted in a particular group is these people who had these drastic, like
Mm.
within X number of weeks, they lost X number of weight, and all that stuff, right? X number of pounds within
Yeah.
like a very, a more, like, I'm showing a 2-year difference. And she's like, I felt like the majority of the posts that I see, it was like this person crushed their 8-week fat loss phase and blah, blah, blah. And they were real results and whatnot. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, she was sharing with me how she processed things like that. And so I shared with her, I'm like, Yeah. So what you're voicing is exactly one of the main things that I have previously allowed to be the barrier between me posting things and not posting things. I was like, what you just talked
Mm,
about, that feeling is what what I was using as the air quotes reason for not posting transformation photos or whatever you want to call them,
yeah.
because I didn't want, like, I was concerned about mostly my internal clients being like, well, I haven't had that same result
Yeah.
when, or them perceiving, let me actually, them perceiving that they haven't had the same result.
Yeah.
Right. So that sort of thing was the major percentage. An additional percentage, howbeit smaller, was it projecting that all I care about is the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And this is something, I'm going to be doing a podcast interview with one of my friends in a few days, and we may end up talking about this. I'm not totally sure. Um, this is one of the things from a coaching standpoint, especially if you're a coach who owns your own coaching practice. So you are the marketing department, you're the sales department, you're the everything department.
Hmm.
Part of what, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the business advice and marketing advice that I've been given is to make sure that you can clarify, be crystal clear on the results that you get for people.
Yep.
So being able to explain. So, for example, I help women run their first marathon or ultra.
Hmm.
So the result is I get you to that event, right? Whereas another person could be like, I help women finish in the top 10% at their ultra events.
Yeah.
I produce top 10 finishers. Like there's some sort of result, right? In the psychographic that I help, they're typically looking for body composition changes. So it's like, okay, as much as I know that the majority of the changes are going to be on the inside, how do I not showcase the outside?
Yeah.
You know?
Hmm.
So it's because that's part of communicating the results that you get. Like, very rarely do I get people that come to me who are like, just really got to do the internal work. Like, I'm coming to you because I just really, it's all about the internal work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. While the
Hmm.
majority of the people like basically kind of get my vibe, like they know how I'm going to work. Like they get it. It's
Yeah.
still like, that's not what, from a marketing standpoint, that's not what draws people in. It's not what engages people.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It can be really tough. So I think when it comes to, like, from the coaching aspect, or from a coach or business owner aspect, like being apprehensive because you're concerned about like showcasing somebody's results, or shouting somebody out because of a particular result. If you're concerned about that, like, that typically is somebody who's trying to come from a place of values, very value centered approach.
Hmm.
I'd like to think that I identify as a coach like that. And also there's the understanding that that it, you can help yourself by putting some data out there about what you do. So it's just like, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't win both. Well, I guess you could, but it's just, to me, it just comes down to, what is your intention? And
Yeah.
are you being authentic in what you're sharing too?
Yeah. I think where I've had the most apprehension is seeing some other coaches who it seems like the only time people get shout outs are if you have a good race performance. And I really don't want to be that kind of coach to just like you were saying with your clients. Like, I don't want my athletes to feel like they need to perform well in order for me to recognize them publicly. Uh, and I think that also, like, outside of my athletes, just like the broader running community, it's like if we only praise fast race results,
Yeah.
then like what does that tell everyone? Because that The people who finish
So
like on the podium are the minority of the running community.
yeah, so what I'm wondering is, okay, so it's like, okay, if the only time that you post the race results is if somebody did well.
Hmm.
I mean, one, if somebody doesn't do well, are they okay with you posting?
Is that a question for me or
And
rhetorical?
uh if you have an answer for it, like, have you had a situation where you wanted to post about um things that you felt like were wins regardless of what the race result was?
Um,
So somebody finished, they wanted to finish top half and they finished bottom half. I don't know. I'm just coming up with a random example. So they didn't have nowhere close to a podium finish. And also, you as the coach, knowing like what they had to fight through just to actually even be in the race,
yeah.
whether it was injury, whether it was stressful situation, whether it was like, you know, crazy schedule, whatever it was, you still ideally have some process wins that don't show with the outcome.
Yeah, I
And if
haven't thought
Mhm.
about posting them, but well, I guess I have thought about it before and then I never really, I don't know. My relationship with posting right now is
Yeah,
fraught.
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That does kind of play into it. You've given me like this idea though of possibly reaching out to my clients and just asking them about process win posts. Because
Yeah.
if we have all this
Well,
conversation about the importance of the process, then yeah, go ahead. I cut you
yeah.
off.
Well, so one of the things, obviously, it's easier in what I do because we have events.
Yeah.
But after every event, I encourage everyone to fill out. I have spreadsheets, of course. But one of the tabs is like a
Heck
post.
yeah, you do.
One of the tabs is a post race debrief, and it has all the questions like straight
Oh,
up how'd it go? How do you feel about your result? What went well? What didn't go well? What did you learn? What do you want to improve for next time? What's your biggest takeaway? And I get a lot of really great responses in there that I've thought about. Like, this would be nice to share. But I
gosh,
just,
that would, yeah, as long as you, I mean, clearly, as long as you had their blessing to
yeah,
do it, um, that would be my biased opinion, because I'm so far removed from only being a client. Like the coaching hat has been on for a number of years now.
yeah,
That's the stuff that really people need more of, so that they can understand what it actually means to like really commit to the process itself. Like I've
yeah.
talked about this before, like instead of trusting the process, trust your ability to execute the process. Because if you
Mm,
simply trust the process, then you're putting all of your power into the process. And that's not even me saying that the process doesn't work or whatnot, but it only
yeah,
works based on the execution of it. And
that's a
when
good
you
point.
have like tangible examples of like how that's been done before, sometimes the outcome isn't there. Like especially like in a from my perspective, like as an outsider for the running world, especially in an industry like yours, event driven, you're promised nothing, like
Yeah,
nothing at all. So you could potentially, as a client, like you could put in your best training block ever and nail everything, and 100 other people could finish better than you.
yeah,
So if you're not promised the outcome, then I think, as my friend Mike calls it, like peeling back the curtains more and more on the actual process, I think is the key. And I think that, for myself, that's something that I've gotten more strategic with, and am going to continue to try and get more and more strategic with, is verbalizing, providing visual commentary, like content around the process itself, and recognizing process wins and milestone wins, so that when I do post a side by side photo, then that sits better with me internally
Mm-hmm.
because that is literally one photo out of however many podcast episodes, however many stories, and however many Instagram posts where I've regularly talked about the importance of like your mindset, like how you process things and then executing things. And I'd post about like the stuff that it's like, yep, big choice today was a McFlurry or, some Greek yogurt with some chocolate chips in it. Like
Yeah.
that's, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's not a balance. Like I want it to be out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And one side of that, that's going to be a little bit less of it. And also I'm going to include it is the photos.
Yeah.
So low key, that basically was me telling you, might as well do it with the
If
sign
I,
off, of course.
yeah. Uh, I have shared before, just like screenshotted the little cell that they wrote in
Yeah.
and like shared a story. But yeah, they would be good posts.
Yeah. You have just given me like a really good, two really tangible ideas. I feel like I just got a coaching session.
Good.
Because yeah, one is to continue, like to continue to talk about and post about things that are more part of the process itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is the monthly highlights, like reaching out and being like, hey, what's a highlight that I could include for you from this particular month? Because I can
Yeah.
go back and comb through, like, like messages and, all that stuff. But I think that's actually pretty cool. So
Yeah. I
thanks.
like I like the
I'll
monthly
see you.
highlights.
I'll reach out and see if, yeah, I'll reach out. I don't know if any of my clients listen to this podcast, but I'll reach out and see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything
Well, we
else?
hit that topic, huh? We
we
knew we were going to chat it out.
we went. I feel like we went on a winding road.
We did. Thankfully, we have a great operations manager and producer who can figure out how that's going to get named, or we could tap
That
in
is
our AI assistant
that
to help
AI.
us out with that.
If the people don't know AI names, probably 95% of our episodes.
I do that with Mason's podcast, Kids Talk Sports.
It's
Plug
really helpful.
because it's back. Yeah. So I go into Chat GPT, identify like you're a podcast producer for this podcast. Here's the target, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, they need 4 examples. And then I'm down in the basement. So he does his thing, records, he goes upstairs, gets ready, he comes back downstairs, and we sit in front of the screen together. And I'm like, okay, so here are the different options that it's given.
Mm,
Which one do you like the most? And what words would you like to change? Like what ideas do you
yep.
like? But let's like switch it up a little bit, like that sort of a thing, like idea generation. So I
Mm-hmm.
also I intentionally use AI with his stuff for sure because I think that that's going to be a bigger part of what he's doing. And
Yeah.
I mean, low key, Mason does not listen to this podcast. So on the DL, I am attempting to plant the seed for like, this is how you use AI versus,
Ooh.
um, copy paste will get you busted if you try that in high
Mm,
school or college. He's 12 and he's in the 7th
yeah.
grade. So, I'm not stupid. I know in my age range, we were like copying papers, right? You copy paper from other people.
Yeah.
Um, and then it evolved into Cliff Notes. So you'd have
That
the
was
yellow and black.
my
Yeah.
my age
So
group.
you'd have the
Yep.
yellow and black. Yep. The Cliff's Notes.
Yep. Or Sparkies.
Sometimes if you had a book report, you would just read the back of the book summary, and you would just try to creatively reword the summary. I definitely did that when I had a book report to do. And now, then the next step in our lives was copy paste a resume and not
Oh.
change anything. So that was the next step. And now AI wise, you can let ChatGPT or some other bot create your entire thing. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to work side by side with him occasionally on these podcast episodes
That's smart.
to edit with it. And he'll at least have some experience. And and I've talked to him before about like, hey, you gotta you got to make sure that words that you use are your own and different things like that. This is great for generating ideas, and it could go in one ear and out the other. However, I do believe that 10 years down the road, when he's like, ah, snap, I screwed up and waited too late to start this paper, that he remembers, hey, I remember when I was using this with dad, and here's what we did.
Yeah.
And doesn't copy paste. I hope that experience does not. How they go back, find like old posts, and they're like, that didn't age well.
Yeah.
I hope this doesn't not age well.
I'm sure
Speaking of aging, yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Anything else, or?
I don't think so. We're at 90 minutes, so we should.
Ooh, goodness.
I know. Oh, one last thing. This is mostly for you, not for the listeners, but they get to keep listening. So, our episodes have been getting long again, for those who haven't noticed. And for those who are unaware, I download both of our video tracks and then put them in a different software to edit it. And now when I do that, it's partially my own fault. But there's not enough memory on my computer to have other things open. So I have to close literally everything in order to edit our podcast now. Yeah, so I'm considering getting a new MacBook with more RAM. Because when I bought this, I never thought I'd be editing videos, and they take up a large memory chunk.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
so
or are we shorten episodes?
Well, I think it's going
to be an issue anyway.
I need more than 8. I think I have 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a 12er.
Something. Yeah.
At least 12. I mean, 16 is going like. Whew.
I think the next option is 16. At least
so you're saying your storage is being throttled.
Yeah. Yeah.
If anybody listened to the first part of our podcast, you get that joke. All right. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up.
All right. If you don't already, follow us on Instagram. That is somewhere that I do post. Lifting Running Living Pod. Or you can email us at liftingrunningLivingPod@gmail.com. Or you can leave a rating and review on Apple. Or you can leave a rating and a comment on a specific episode on Spotify. And I don't know about the other platforms, so sorry.
I'm not sure what's going on over at Amazon Podcasts or Amazon Music, I think it is.
Yeah. I didn't even know you could listen there, but
yeah.
Apparently you can.
I guess we'll find out. If somebody's listening, let us know. All right. So with that is going to wrap up today's episode of Lifting, Running, and Living. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.